Hi guys, and welcome back to this LinkedIn podcast Q&A series. It's going to be going out every Friday here on my LinkedIn channel. Basically, the format that I'm going to be adopting for now, it might change in the future, is thinking about a specific role and put myself in their position and think, how would I be using podcasting right now? So today I'm going to be looking at marketing managers, for bars, for wineries. It's going to have a bit of a UK bias, I guess, because I'm, responding as well to the situation here in the UK. So yeah, feel free to adapt or ask any questions if it's not exactly relevant for you. A little reminder of what I shared in last week's video, which was just around the space and the opportunity around podcasting. So right now there are 900,000 podcasts, which sounds like a lot, but when you compare it to 31 million YouTube channels and 500 million blogs, you'll see that there's a lot of space there. I think also it's a good time for you marketing managers to be using podcasts, because you think about the trend of consumption that's been going on in the background for many, many years now. People at home are, for many, many reasons, are less likely to absorb and sit down and watch a sort of a homemade, if you like, or a brand video that might last half an hour versus listening to a podcast, which might actually last even longer than that. Another trend that I'm sure you've seen and have maybe tried and been tempted by in these recent strange times has been the shift to live. I'm just going to say my view as a consumer that there's a lot of channel clash going on right now on live. So it becomes mostly sort of Monday to Friday around 6 o'clock. It's just crazy. There's usually about 5 or 6 streams going live, all at the same time. So I think the big question is not necessarily, do you want to do live, but is the quality of the live stream such that somebody would want to sit down and watch it afterwards, even when it's not live? I think that's the big question. There's a lot of big players going into live now. They're getting more and more professional. And essentially, when you're on the internet, you're not just competing with your local, with your sector even, or who you see as your competitors. You're competing with everybody, so it could be their favorite celebrity who's doing a live stream, or a media company. It's like you have to, I think, be aware of it. It's a very competitive area. I would just say another thing around just getting started with podcasting, just don't get trapped by kit. You can very much use your phone. You can use there's an app called Anchor, which looks to get people podcasting directly from their phone, even if they haven't got a mic and they haven't got an expensive setup. The main thing is that you will improve a lot by doing. I purposely left my episode 1 of my podcast up there, and we'll always have it up there, but it's, not as good, to say the least, as later episodes. But I just keep it up there to show everybody, look, you can start where you are, and then you're just doing it. And if you like it and you'll do more of it, you'll get good feedback and you'll just improve over time. For the format, I mean, it's the same really of any medium, but I just, again, would share something which is around, if you're going to do a podcast, make sure that you have some kind of arc, that you have some sort of story going on. If it's an interview, I mean, I use typically past, present and future through all of my interviews. So, you might have a guest on that is a winemaker, but I think it's also interesting to share how they got into making wine. What's the family connection? Where are they? Where's the region? Bring that past in, create the context rather than sort of diving straight into an interview or straight into creating content. So without further ado, 3 types of shows I would recommend for a marketing manager at a bar or winery at this time. So overarching all of them is the philosophy of documenting and not creating. So I think this is probably, unless you're doing this in your spare time and you're, into radio plays, and this is something that you've been sort of naturally doing for years and you're drawn to, don't, I think, get into the idea of producing a podcast and making it like a listening experience or a sort of a radio player, as I say. I think this is very much time to keep it simple, to go with interviews and to go with sharing of education and just getting facts that are there and are out there in the world, get them into an audio format versus any other video or written. So first format that I would recommend for the wine marketing managers at this time is get the story of your wine out there in a podcast format. It's very much a world that I've inhabited, and there's still very much a lack of people telling the story of their wineries, their winemakers in audio. So absolutely get people on Zoom, record them, get them to record on their phone if you want to get the quality up a little bit more. But, again, it's more important to get the right person on, get the most engaging person that you know. People will forgive you as you build up the quality. You can strip the audio directly off Zoom, and that will be good enough to kind of get you started. If you're and then I've split this now into, say, a wine bar or a winery that's closed, so you now don't have anybody coming through the door. So you may well not even have a remote function. So you're pretty much in stasis. I think there's very much an argument here for keeping your customers that you've built up and the relationships you built up, keep those going now. I think if you're in the UK and you've got staff and maybe they're furloughed or you're still got access to them in some way, then interview the staff. I think people will miss being able to interact with their waiter or their chef or whoever you have who's front of house and has that interaction with the guests. You can still pick that up. Don't forget the story arc again. Remembering that if we're looking at past, present and future, the current situation is the present part, but what is the past? Where has this person come from? What experiences have they brought? What are the other things that the customers might not know about them that you're able to kind of share at this time? There'll obviously be something around the present and how they're adapting, but what are they excited about looking forward? What are the things that they are going to be doing when this situation passes? I think ending on an optimistic note, I think, can be good for everybody at this time. If you are in a situation where you're closed down and you don't have any staff now, I mean that is obviously a tough situation. I still think podcasting can work. I still think it's not a particularly expensive way to keep that brand alive, but again, you may not have access now to interviewing staff who, for obvious reasons. So I would say look outside of the restaurant or outside of the bar or outside of the winery. Look now to suppliers. Who's your favorite supplier? The one that makes the bread that everybody loves, or the one that makes those veggies that everybody loves. Can you interview them? Can you tell their story? Which I think will again engage your customers and keep your brand front of mind for when this passes and whatever your business then turns into. There'll be a lot of pivoting going on, I'm sure. There might, if you're thinking about, again, everything kind of shut down and you don't have the staff anymore, maybe, worst case scenario that you don't have the suppliers anymore. You might have to think a bit laterally, think about the local community maybe. Could you share some stories of local community workers, maybe even other related businesses in the community, and maybe think more on a sort of geographical basis. So if you're based in Clapham, thinking, say, in London, what are the other businesses around you in Clapham that you're seeing? Interview the people who are running those businesses, again, thinking about that story arc. What's their past? What's their present? What's their future? If you're for a business that's still operational, if you're a winery, a bar that's still sort of moving wine and still has a source of income, I think really then the 1 and 2 are still open to you. You can still interview people from within the business, those staff. You can still look externally to suppliers and to local community. But I think also here I would actually shift this more towards education. So I think what you can do is look at just sharing education, sharing information with people. I don't think this is the time to really start selling wine. I think this is a time to give people knowledge and information. Again, drawing in the live, there's so many people who are doing live streams, and this might be perceived as a way to kind of sell more wine. I think you have to be more selfless at this time, as selfless as the situation will allow, and just think about your consumer. Really put them front of mind and think about what is the education, what is the knowledge that you've got that you can share with them. And then finally, a specific question. So this is one that Stephanie, thank you, Steph, she put on the post last week. And what she was asking is how to get others, or should you even get other team members involved when you're not wanting to put a singular name or host to the project, especially for a restaurant or bar where there isn't a singular individual providing the service. So as you may know, you see her comment below, Stephanie is the Marketing and Communications Manager at Humble Grape in London. And yeah, I think the thing here, go back and listen to those 3 different types of show. I think that's the first thing is like, what is a podcast actually going to be about? You definitely got in bucket 1 the winemaker content, and that can also be wine writers and sommeliers, interviews around wine. 2, if you're currently operational, as I believe you are, you still have access to staff, so you can be interviewing staff at this time. Again, I think for me, getting away from the need to keep those stories necessarily really, really short. I've seen that you've done some really great, like 1-2 minute videos. And I think they're up on YouTube, and I think they're here on LinkedIn. But not forgetting that for the medium, for podcasting, you can actually go a lot longer. So you can actually, delve a little bit more into people's backstories. Take a bit longer with it, and if you even get to 15-20 minutes for a staff interview, that's totally fine, because again, people are consuming long form audio in a way that they're not consuming long form video. And then absolutely, you've got education, you've got trainers in your team there, so you can definitely be making that type of content. To your specific question around the I guess kind of what goes around that, how does that look, how does that show up? I think you have a host. I think you've got a great voice. You could be the host of the Humble Grape podcast. Why not? But I think the thing you do here is something that I've always done, is that you don't really you don't need to necessarily dwell too much on the host. It's not about the person that's hosting it. The host is just to let people know that they've reached the right place, let them know what's coming up in the episode, and then to sort of to put them across to it. It's sort of on with the show. It's not about the host really. If you focus on the guests and you focus on the content, then I think that will kind of take care of itself. So, but again, get it going. Get over any tech hurdles and kit hurdles, which I think you're already well on your way. And you'll smash it, I'm sure. So I mean, that's it for this video. How to make content for a wine bar, restaurant, winery marketing manager. What do you think? If this is something that you've heard today, you think there might be something there that you can go away and use, please drop a comment below if you are in that sort of position at the moment. If you know somebody who you think is in that position where they're needing or wanting to look at podcasting as a way to kind of keep their brand alive and keep connecting with customers during this time, then please tag people below. Let them know that this content is there and freely available. And you let me know, what do you want to see next time in the video? What's the next sort of sector that you want me to focus on? Who should I be talking to next? So thank you so much for watching. This is Lawrence Francis, Interpreting Wine. Please stay in touch, please follow, and please share. Okay, see you next time.